So I'm going to toggle over so you guys can see me as soon as I can figure out how to do it. Sorry. Oh my gosh, the silliness. Hi. Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. As I think most of you know, this is a very new effort for me. So it's a little bumpy. Thank you for your patience. I started, I think, yesterday or the day before. Yesterday, 2 of the videos disappeared. I don't know what happened to Leo and Virgo. People have been asking me. Theoretically, all these videos are archived, so I'm going to have to go find them. So bear with me. It's just going to take me a couple of weeks, probably at minimum, to get to a baseline of comfort. I'm not there yet. So I'm trying to remember to just sort of stick to my own methodology. So let me start by telling you, if you don't know, this is the tarot deck that I'm using. It's profound. It speaks to me in a way that is really beautiful, and it seems to work very well with my particular energy set point. So it's quite beautiful. Again, if you're new to the channel, you're going to love the illustrations. They are amazing. If you want a private reading, or if you want to purchase a subscription to the private live stream events that are going to be unfolding going forward, scroll below the video to the little description box, and there is a phrase that says show more. It's in gray letters. Click on that and a huge box of information opens, and I've done my best to put everything there that you will need under every single video on my channel. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, my email is there. You don't necessarily need to send me an email. There's a link. If you want to make a reservation payment for a reading, scroll through that info, decide which reading you want. There are various lengths. Just click the PayPal button, put a note on your payment to tell me, because PayPal then notifies me and I'll know exactly what you're looking for. So I do ask for a little bit of information. Please be sure to put that in the note. It just makes the process go smoother and faster. I receive dozens of emails, sometimes per day. And between the reading, the private readings, and the scheduling, and the YouTube videos, it's a lot. Plus all the factors of my own life. Like I woke up one day, a couple days ago, I had a flat tire in the driveway. So, just like you, there are things that take my attention. So my hope is that we can streamline that process together to make it as efficient as possible. But if you don't hear back from me in a couple days, it's not because I'm ignoring you. I'm just pedaling as fast as I can. Okay? So let's jump in. I'm going to toggle back to the the chat stream for just a moment and just check in with you folks. And then we'll jump into the reading. Okay? Give me just a moment to see who's here. Let's see. Nathalie. Am I saying your name right? Is it Natalie or Nath? Tell me phonetically how to say your name. From Las Vegas. Welcome. Vidya, hi. So nice to have you here. Okay. Marie Antoinette is here again. You're awesome. Thank you for being here. I'm really kind of overwhelmed. There are a couple of people who've just been watching every live stream. It is so nice to have your love and encouragement and support while I bumble through learning the software. And so I thank you for your tolerance. It's amazing to me. Mary Love, love you. Thank you. Pixie of Joy. What a great tagline. Thanks for being here. And Marsha, hi. MP Light, hello. Marie Antoinette. Hang on, let me scroll up. It's interesting. One of the skills I clearly have to develop is how to manage 2 different pieces of software. So, there's the YouTube video site that I have to stream from. And then there's another piece of software in the background that has 2 screens that I have to manage. So I'm a little bit gobsmacked at the moment, but we're getting there. All right. Okay, so what I'm going to do, maybe I can reduce the quality. I'm looking at your message, Vidya. Quality of the video to 480p. Do you know what? I think that's where it's at. Something like that. So here's the challenge I'm having. I live out in the middle of the woods, and the only internet that's available to me is satellite or DSL through the phone company. And I cannot run the satellite dish because it uses too much electricity because I'm off the grid. So I'm stuck with the phone company, and they have 1 megabyte of upload speed. It's horrible. And I'm working with them. The company was just bought out. So I have had the technicians here, and they're encouraging me to work with the company to double my upload bandwidth. So I'm learning all kinds of things as a result of this adventure. I didn't even know to think about that. That's how that's how uninformed I am in terms of the world of technology. Okay. All right. So I am going to toggle into my software and we'll jump in because I've been running a little behind all day because of some tech problems that happened. So, just again, so you know, last night I stayed up really late and I preloaded all of the streaming keys and all the things for the 3 videos today. And when I woke up this morning, 2 of them were gone. I don't know why. I don't know what happened. So, as I keep saying, these just in the background, I would hope to communicate to all of you that this will get smoother over time. But clearly, there's a huge knowledge uptake that I'm going through, and I'm at the bottom of the learning curve. Stressing me a little bit, good for me to stress and stretch, rather. There's a Freudian slip, and change. So, Taurus, your reading, along with Aries and Pisces, happened from the Naul 4 Nox passage tone. And the readings that came from there have a particular type of message, and all of them blend together. So whether that is in your chart or not, I'm urging everyone I'm urging you to watch all the readings that came out of the 4 Nox passage tone. And that thought is beginning to formulate in my mind. I've talked a little bit about it in some of the other streams. So there's a connection that's happening. I've been viewing it in the background as I've been doing all these readings and the personal readings that go really, really deep. If you want to have an experience like going into the passage tone, I know it sounds like a commercial, but get a personal reading. It'll knock your socks off. They are so beautiful, so profound. Half the time, both of us are weeping through the reading. So there's a thread that I have been seeing, a tapestry of energy that is being woven together by the journey that each different astrological set point is having and how they connect to each other. I'm beginning to see the vision of that. So I'm sharing that information with you and encouraging you. I know it's a lot of time, but check it out. If you're bored and you know what to do with yourself on a particular afternoon or something, click through some of those videos, okay? So particularly your own counterpoint, or no, that's not the right word, a cohort, that's what I'm trying to say. So if you're an earth sign, look at the other earth signs. So there's clearly, because of this journey for me, what is happening is my ability to understand has shifted and grown. And I am seeing, because of the way the readings came out, I'm seeing the connections. And I'm thinking about, like these readings on the Naul passage tone, the community reading, Pisces, Aries, Taurus, okay? Earth, fire, rather, and water. So, elementally, Spirit is trying to show us how things are weaving together. And I want to make sure to say it out loud so that we can join together because I learn a lot from you folks every day. All right? So, here we go. I'm going to start toggling through. I'm going to show you some photos. This is the scene in which the Naul passage tomb sits. It's just, you drive up to this little town and you have to have a little bit of inside information from the locals. And so you go, out into the countryside, basically. Somebody will say, go drive on such and such a place and then turn right and go up this road. That's what it was like. And then look for the sign. There's a sign by the side of the road. and the sign will tell you whose house you can go to get the key. Now, how phenomenal is that? So that's the adventure that I had. And, eventually it took us a while to find the right location. We went and knocked on somebody's door for probably 5 or 10 minutes. They weren't home, thankfully, because I'm sure they would have been freaked out. Hear these two strangers at the door. So we found the right house, got the key, and drove out to the passage tomb. So I'm going to share some pictures to start out and talk with you about the experience of being in this place, because it is an experience that I would like, if possible, for you to have vicariously through me, because this is where the reading came from. All right, so there's the mound. There's a little bit of a delay in the stream. I think I forgot to say that, 30 seconds or something. So, you drive up, you just park your car by the side of the road. There's no parking lot. There's none of that going on. It's very unassuming. So you find a little spot to park your car, and the roads in Ireland, in case you don't know, what we would consider a lane in a highway is a road with cars going in both directions and no line down the middle. It's a little bit crazy. And I was driving on the wrong side of the road. It was a fun adventure. So there's the mound, right? You park your car, you find the sign, you walk up the little pathway that's been created, and you see this very little sort of bump. Looks like a little hill. Clearly it's a human made. This one does not. Some of them, you wouldn't know it was a tomb unless you knew, because it just looks like a hill in the countryside. This one, it's really clear that there's something here that didn't come out of the earth, so to speak. So you walk around, that's the back side of the tomb, and when you get around to the front, that's what you see, this big iron door. And as I've been saying in the other readings, there was, I was standing at that doorway, and I had all kinds of emotions and thoughts, all my fears, good Lord, straight up to the surface. I had a miniature little anxiety attack, I guess I would call it, because, suddenly here I am. And I love the metaphor that this door is there, and you have to have clear intention to go through. And, by your own volition, right? I have to choose to put the key in the door. And so that's part of the theme that's coming out in these readings. And each reading that came forward from this place, Pisces, Aries, Taurus, there's a lot of discussion about challenges and difficulties and what we would call blocks, right? Challenges to our will. It's very interesting to me. So there's something about those experiences that are causing our spiritual evolution and preparing us for the passage that is coming. And I'll talk more about that, okay? So there's the door. There's me putting the key in the lock with my hand shaking, going, okay, I guess I'm going for it. I flew across the ocean. Don't back down now. Girlfriend, pull your pants up and go. So this is what it looks like. Oops, you know what? I keep forgetting I have to transition. There it is. It was, it may sound silly at this point, but it was a really profound moment for me to take that step and decide to go in. All right, now, so you open the door, and that's what you see. And so then there's another decision that comes. I have to be brave enough to walk in, knowing what this place is, into the darkness. I have to be willing to walk into the darkness in order to have a journey. And I have no control over it, and I don't know what's going to happen. But I'm stepping in because I have a desire in my heart. And so, as we go through the reading, I think that has some of that energy affects the reading, that kind of a quest. And we've been talking, the cards have been talking about quests and journeys and things being revealed. And so that's the reason to go to a place like this. So it was very interesting to watch as the cards came out. So then this actually is a picture. When the readings were done, you can see my friend Paula in the background there. She's taking pictures of the glyphs. The sun had shifted by the time we were in there for, I don't know, 2.5 or 3 hours. And the passageway was illuminated by the time we were done. So I was able to take this photo. But it's, you know, it's that dark in there. That's the experience. It's really intense. All right, so let me show you a couple of the stones. And again, you know, there's not really enough light to take photos, even with a flash. And I had been instructed when I was at one of the other passage tombs to refrain from using a flash because apparently it somehow can degrade the glyphs. I don't understand that, but I suppose it's light, it's energy. So here's one of the carvings. That's a spiral. Not very clear in this photo, I apologize. And here's another one, and this is one of the ones that I put into this photo display. Look at that. So, you know, imagine yourself standing in the relative dark, trying to take pictures, and I couldn't see the glyphs on this stone. I could see a little bit of it, but it wasn't until the picture came out, and you can see I was naughty. I did use a flash. We opened the door at the end, and some light was coming through, and I thought, I just have to take some pictures. And so the flash did go off. I felt bad about it. But so this photograph to me is somehow descriptive of the energy inside the tomb. And it is, you know, I stood there trying to figure it out. It's not spirals. There are chevrons inside of this tomb. And clearly, that is a depiction, I think, of the waves of energy. And then, so as you go around the tomb, there are 3 altars. I'm going to show them to you, in which ceremonial bowls would be placed. And inside the bowls would be the ashes. So the people who passed away were cremated. And then the ceremonial ashes, the ashes would be brought into the tomb and put into these bowls in one of 3 altars. And the carvings on these stones above these altars each had a different energy signature. And so I came to believe, and I don't know if I'm right because I'm not an expert at all, I came to believe that each of these bowls and each one of these spots had a particular type of energy. So there's one. There were 3 altars, or, you know, I don't know what to call them, altar bowl placement areas inside this particular tomb. If you go to Newgrange, there are many passageways, and many of these, and they are 3 times the size of this. So, you know, if you don't know about these passage tombs, you want to Google that. There's a lot of fun information online. So one of the things I'm trying to remember to say about this is that the passageway at Newgrange and the passageway at Naul, and I think some other of these, the whole entire Boyne Valley, which is where these places primarily exist, they are mathematically exactly in line with the pyramids. And these passage tombs are older than the pyramids. They're 5,000 or 6,000 years old, as far as anyone can tell. And when the pyramids began to be excavated, people started going in. What they found inside the tombs, the mummies and the people who were there had red hair. So there's a line of thought and a line of exploration going on about how people traveled. And you wouldn't think that this many years ago they had knowledge of each other, but clearly they did. And there was, you know, at minimum, cultural exchange going on. And you can go down that rabbit hole as far as you want and get on Google and look up the DNA lineage and all that kind of. It's really fascinating. All right, so moving on. Here's the other altar. And if you look at the sort of the left side of this picture, you can see a little orb of light. I don't know what that is. There were things that we did see inside the tomb while we were there. You know, in the moments that those things were happening, believe me, I was not taking pictures. That might be a result of a flash. Who knows? People have asked me about it. I don't know. Okay, so there's this altar, and there's this altar, and then there's the main altar. This one faces the passageway, and as you can see, because the light is coming in, it is illuminating this altar. And so, you know, the way these places were built, there was, I believe, and again, not an expert, but I believe that the intention was to take the souls and the remains of the people who passed away and bring them to this place in order to inter their souls and give them a place to process and to rest from their human endeavors and prepare to go fully back into the mystical realm, the universe, heaven, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what it is. I don't profess to know those things. I have my human experiences, right? So, you know, I went in, I gathered myself. I think I was somewhat fearful the whole time I was in there because of the types of things that happened to me. And I thought, boy, you know, something could really, you know, if suddenly really someone appears to me, am I going to be able to handle that? Those are the kind of things that were kind of going through my mind, right? So I had to sort of face my fear, gather it, and, you know, in my head, I'm having a conversation with myself about, my gosh, you know, your whole life has been about being in connection with spirit, and here you are, and now what you're experiencing is fear. So I was experiencing the human struggle toward spirit connection, and I get it. You know, it's what we all are struggling with. So it was nice for me to have that challenge in this way, in this place, so that it could really drive it home for me in terms of our human challenge and struggle with these topics in our lives. So, we sat down. I brought a little blanket with me. We sat down, had our meditation. Again, continuing to sort of breathe deep, gather myself in the overwhelm of the moment, and be available to the spirit realm to speak through the cards. That was my intention. So I got a leading to throw the runes down. I did that after some resistance and discussion because I don't know how to read them. I use them in my readings. I've been guided to do that. And so I try to be very respectful. I always read from the book. I don't try to interpret it because I have not been trained in that art. So Spirit basically kept nudging me in a way that was very strong about throwing the runes. And I didn't want to do it. You know, the things we argue about with Spirit, right? I was like, I don't know what to do with these things. It was that kind of a discussion. And finally I thought, all right, you know what? Listen to yourself. It doesn't matter that you don't know. So that's the other general thing I want to say. As you know, in the private readings, people talk about that a lot. These are the kind of human challenges we have. You don't have to know everything in every moment. If the inspiration strikes you, go for it. You'll figure it out. It might be 5 years from now. That's fine too. There's an intention there. So allow yourself to be self-acknowledging that you're in partnership and things are trying to unfold through the journey of your existence here on this planet. So I threw the runes down, and we had put the door open. And I thought, you know, I want to prop it open because it's too dark in there. I don't want to be plunged into total darkness in my moments of fear, right? I threw the runes down on the blanket, and here's what happened. The door shut all by itself. Don't ask me, I have no idea. I will never understand what happened. you can make guesses like I did, right? The energy vortex that happened inside the tomb when I took that action, perhaps, created, how with drafts or whatever, I think it sucked the door closed, or spirit closed it. Who knows? But that's what it looked like when the door shut. There was a tiny little shaft of light that had been drilled in the ceiling. Thank the gods. So there we were. And it took us a moment. I think it took our breath away. And then we had to gather ourselves again and decide whether we were going to open the door or not. And I thought, you know what? Just no. This is why I'm here. And if I'm not willing to stand together arm in arm with my fear and meet the moment, then why am I doing these efforts, right? So I had that moment of discussion about showing up, etc. So I said, no, Paul and I talked about it a little bit. Let's go forward. Let's just do what we came here to do. Take a breath and do a little meditation. And so the readings came out. And there's one more picture I want to show you because I always forget. So there's my friend Paula taking pictures after the readings were done and the door was open again. And this is what happened. When we were done, a gust of wind came by and opened the door. See my blanket in the bottom of the picture? And that's what we saw. So, it was a moment of revelation for me. And there's a lot of cards that are coming out in these readings about revelation. So there I sat in the dark, and the door opened, and the sun was literally dropping in the sky because it was late afternoon, and it was streaming directly into the passage, illuminating this. You can't see it because of the picture, but the stones in the passageway, the leading into the tomb, were illuminated and glowing. And the main altar was on fire. I should have taken a picture, but I was kind of gobsmacked in the moment. I didn't do it. I just stood there staring into the light. And I forgot to say this when I was talking to Aries, but those things that we all hear about, people who have near-death experiences, and they talk about they see this light and they're going through a tunnel. That's what was going through my mind. And, it felt like a moment of revelation to me, like, oh my God, I get it. Here I am in the tomb. It's a passage tomb. It is meant to help souls transition into the next realm after a period of preparation and rest, because a human life takes a lot of energy, and it takes time to process. I think, would be my guess. Of course, I don't really know, but that's what I think about it. So it was just such a beautiful and overwhelming experience in this tiny little bubble of a passage tomb. And there are hundreds of them. So if you have the ability to go, or any place on the earth where these type of structures exist, go for it, because it'll change your life forever. It certainly has changed mine. And, on some level gave me the courage to come home and do the live stream, because it made me really want to connect in a way. Spirit had been telling me, not yet. I wasn't allowed to show my face because it was about the messages. And Spirit wanted everybody to really focus on that. And so now I've been released. The moment is here. It's nice to be here in this way at this moment. So I'm going to toggle back for just a moment, take a look at the chat, see if there's any questions coming through, give you a chance to see my face again, and then I'll jump into the cards, okay? Let's see, hang on. Oh gosh, a lot of messages. Give me a moment. Okay, someone is asking me, Mary Love, this reminds me of the rainbow serpent, signs of death and rebirth. Absolutely, and the spiral is used all over the world. Absolutely. So these were, I think, what I considered universal symbols. And boy, I'm going to do a reading. There were 2 readings that came out from Queen Maeve's um, throne, basically, which sits atop a very high hill in Lokru, and it is spectacular. And the tomb is about the same size, or maybe smaller than this one, but oh my God, what's going on in that place? And that was, again, another place that was revealed to me by local folks who I was connecting with. Um, I didn't know about it. I had no idea. So Queen Maeve's chair, her throne, is there, and in the center of the throne is a swastika. It is a power symbol, and the legend was, when she sat on the throne, everything that she could see, and you could see for miles. It was pouring rain that day, and you could still see. It was clouded over, and I thought, my gosh, if I get a chance to come back, I'm going to come back up here and look just at what my eyes can take in, because she owned everything that's visible. She was a very powerful woman in her own right, and knew how to take this energy that was coming up through the earth and use it to empower her existence. It's a fascinating story. You should go look it up online. So these symbols, the spirals, and these symbols that look like the movement of energy. So chevrons that, like upside down W's, right, that go on and on and on. In every passage tomb, there was that symbol was there, and other things that looked like depictions of the universe. And I wish I said astrology, but I meant astronomy. I wish I knew more about astronomy, and it's going to push me in that direction, because I had a suspicion that part of what was being depicted were some of the things that they could see in the heavens. So I'm now, captured. My mind has been captured for all of this stuff to do this exploration. Okay. What color? Okay. So Mary Love, you're asking me, what color is the stone? All of these stones are just gray. They are not painted. So they are just as they exist in the natural world with the carvings that were put on them. Okay? All right, so I'm going to click back to my studio software and we'll go through the reading, all right? Hang on one sec. I want to leave you with the picture while I'm doing that transition. Okay? So Taurus. If you have been following along the monthly readings through the year, all earth signs are going through a particular type of change and passage. Your particular journey has been about being released. So in the other two readings that came out of this passage tomb, a shaman has been present, has always been a female. And so here we see another depiction. Oh gosh, I forgot to transition. Sorry. So look at that. Right on the top of this reading. And if you're not familiar with my readings, that is the card that depicts the spiritual theme, the energy, the message, what Spirit's telling me, and the love that comes from the spirit realm for you as you go through your earthly journey, preparing for your own passage back into the mystical realm. A shamaness, right on top. So I'm going to, so here's in the background, just FYI, there's a long, I have to load up all the pictures and then they're in a long list. And so the live stream sits in a stable position, so I have to end up scrolling through, so it takes a little bit of time. I'm going to figure out a better way to manage that, I hope. So here is this card, the elopement of battle. Look at that. This woman is here to help you release yourself from that which captures you, which binds you, which blocks you, which keeps you, in a state of slumber. I think that's what that's about. Okay? And it is, the whole scene is bathed in golden light. And do you see the hawks? Hawks are signatory of highly developed uh, spiritual feminine energy and power. And look at the passion at this woman's dress and the headdress and the feathers. It's phenomenal. She's here to symbolically crack the whip and wake you up and release you into your journey in a way that is deeper for your benefit. This card, if you read the book and you study the cards, one of the things it can signify is addiction, being entrapped, whatever that might mean. It might be a way of thinking, it might be a way of life, it might be a cultural tradition that's holding you back. Because, those things, no offense to anybody, but those things really can hold us back from the true nature inside of us. And we have to struggle against them and become more fully who we are and figure out how to blend our heritage and our history together with the things that we are experiencing. So it's the elopement, all right? This journey has run away with you in a sense. If you're struggling with an addiction, whether it is to a belief system, a substance, a relationship, the internet, it could be anything, right? Chocolate, whatever it is, cigarettes. I'm here to tell you, this is a moment when you can change that or begin that process because this is here. And I love that, although it looks rather severe, it's bathed in golden light, right? So the experience is in the light. And that's the desire, to wake you up so that you can be in the light. So let me toggle back and I will transition into the card that signifies you. So if you have not seen the readings for Taurus, if you're new and you're jumping onto this live stream by accident, welcome. If you haven't seen the readings for Taurus, go please and look at them. It's a long journey that you've been on, and my readings are not standalone. Month to month, there is a journey that has been unfolding, that have been coming through the cards, that information about the steps of your development, getting ready to take this journey of rediscovery and self-development and spiritual development, starting at the beginning of this year and coming through all these eclipses and the portals that opened and the things that have happened and the energy that has become available to us in this place, okay? So I'm going to scroll down and show you the progression. Look at that. There you are. I love this card for you. That is the warrior of knowledge. It is about, the story behind this card is about a young man who was on a particular quest, and the king sent him into the forest to go and collect the personal items that belonged to the princess, the king's daughter. It was a test. It was really difficult. It was terrifying. He had to go, those items were tangled up in the mane of a wild boar, one of the most dangerous animals that exists, right? It's like saying, go have lunch with a crocodile, tell me how it went. It's like that, right? Really scary, really dangerous. Had to use all of his wits. And if you notice, he has no shoes. He has no weapons. He is naked from the waist up. He is there with his passion. See the color of his trousers? It is his passion that drives him forward to have this adventure and be brave enough to go into what it was going to take inside of himself to meet this task. Kind of like, I'm a Virgo, right? So I'm an earth sign. Kind of like I was talking about. I had to gather myself up and say, am I going in? Now I'm really scared now that I'm here. What am I thinking? I don't want to go and be there in the dark. It was that, I think, that kind of an experience, right? Only more frightening because there was a real beast that he had to face. I was just facing my imagination, right? So, hang on, I'm going to toggle back to live. Okay, there we are. There he is. See? Look at that. He did it. He was successful. He didn't get hurt, not a scratch on him. He used his knowledge in order to face the challenge and the passion that existed inside of himself that created the desire to meet the goal. And, it's a fairy tale. So, once the job was done, he got to marry the princess and all of that stuff. So, again, coming through a difficult struggle, being released from that which would cause you difficulty in order to meet your destiny. And for this person, it was that fairy tale ending, right? Marry the princess and live happily ever after. Who knows if they did? We don't know that part of the story. But clearly, he had some challenges that he had to meet. And it was what Spirit's telling me in the background, pressing him as much as possible, stressing him in order to cause him to be released from his fear so he could meet the challenge. So that is fantastic. I love that this message that's been coming through for you all year. And if you've been watching the readings, this is not the first time she's been here. She's been traveling with you. You've been on a shamanic journey for the entirety of 2017. And here it comes again from the passage tomb. There were tears coming for me because of how profound that was. That message, the trueness of that message, came through in this place for you to talk with you again about this journey you've been on. I felt so grateful. So let me toggle back and I'll show you the next pick, okay? So, as I've been talking about, there's a purpose for this journey. And we've talked about it a lot over the course of the year, but look at that. That's the quest. So in the center, you're the warrior of knowledge. And that is the quest of skill. Clearly a rebirth, having been released, being in the process of passage into a new life. And look at all the wisdom animals that are there, flanking you in every corner. And here's the other thing. I just, the word that's coming out of me lately is gobsmacked, which means just like complete overwhelm in a moment, in an instant, okay? So let me hold this card up for you. I'm going to toggle back to live, and I'm going to hold this card up because I want to talk to you about one of the things about this card. Okay, check it out. And apologies, I have to put it right in front of my face in order to get it into the camera. The quest of skill. There's elk. It's about stamina for a long journey. An owl who showed up in the Aries reading about a young woman who lost her way, misused her internal power, and was turned into an owl and sent out into the forest. And there's eagle, right? Wisdom, long vision, deep vision, and raven who crosses back and forth. And then there's Pisces. And the notion of Pisces and the type of Pisces journey has come through every single reading, along with the shaman. And the goddess of the river Boyne was also in every single reading that came out of this passage tomb. So there's a thread that runs through somehow. And so your journey in this beautiful, deep, mysterious place, the leaves that you see fluttering around do signify the potential to be overwhelmed with the change and the shift and the passage. That's why it takes time. It has to take time, right? In order for us to glean everything we can out of these changes and these journeys that we have as we move toward our goal. You've all heard that stuff, right? It's not the goal, it's the journey and all that. It's true on some level. So there you are in the passage tomb. There's your energy. And I'm checking in with Spirit. Spirit, well, you know what? I'm being corrected. It was actually the other way around. Spirit was directing me. So I'm sitting there and I'm asking, okay, what readings do you want to do? And the community reading came out. And then Pisces came out. And then Aries came out, and then Taurus. And, I was trying hard not to engage with my brain, but I'm a Virgo, so I analyze everything, right? And I'm trying to figure out, well, why those three? And why didn't it just like all the earth signs or all the whatever, and none of it happened that way. There's a thread that runs through these readings. And there is a tapestry that's being made. Our energy, being woven together. Okay, you know what? I'm getting a little download. Have you ever seen the movie, oh gosh, what's the name of it? The Whale Rider? There's a scene in that movie where the young woman, who is a shaman in her own right, she's with her grandfather, who gives her just an enormous amount of grief all the time. And he's trying to fix an engine on a boat. And they have a discussion about rope and the threads of the ancestors all woven together. That's what's happening. There's some kind of tapestry being made as we go through our regestation, our shift and change, releasing and coming into our spiritual reality. Because this year, and I didn't know this, I'm I'm just like you guys, right? I just happen to have this ability. So as this has been unfolding for you, it has been unfolding for me as a card reader. And I've been seeing things about this journey because I do so many personal readings and I do all of these monthly readings. I have kind of like a little bit of cloud vision, right? I can see something developing, and I'm hoping that I get enough clarity to be able to speak to it in one of the private live streams. So if you haven't signed up for live stream, please do it because I'd love to have you there. I should have talked about this in the beginning. I'm just going to take a moment. So all the readings, I think, going forward from here are going to be live stream. Those will be still posted to the public as my gift. And there are some other things that are going to happen for which I'm asking for subscription patronage. It's only $35. I'm trying to support myself and support the channel so I can grow this. And the only way for that to happen is for me to, quite honestly, manifest some money. So that's enough of that commercial. I'd love to have you with us if you are able and if you so choose. Okay? So I'm going to toggle back and show you the next card that's coming. Okay? And now we're going to get into the part of this reading that's talking to you in a little more specific way about your challenges. Look at that. So look at yourself in the center, the warrior of knowledge. Spirit's telling you, you know what you need to know. Okay, that's a fairly advanced card. You've come a long way, Taurus, in this process of releasing and recapturing and regestating yourself. And if you look at what is sitting next to the regestation and just below the warrior of knowledge, that is the judgment of knowledge. And so there is some strife going on. The story behind that card is that there was this very upstanding person, standing on the left there, this gentleman of some social standing and perhaps some wealth, etc. There were some people in the background that were messing with him, basically, trying to steal things from him and doing things in a deceitful way to attempt to steal from him. He found out about it, and he had to figure out, what do I do? How do I make this stop? And he had to gather up his courage and his strength to go and face the beast, so to speak, and say, all right, you know what? Give back to me what is mine. And by the way, stop it. Don't be doing that stuff. That's not okay. I'm not going to tolerate it. Without getting into a giant, protracted battle. So clearly, the challenges that are coming are going to, as you regestate, coming through, you're going to continue to have challenges and you're going to have to use your best judgment and your skill set in order to meet them. That is what is going to be asked of you and required of you. And when you do that, you become the king of skill, who is also here, I think, in every reading. So that last card on the human line is the king of skill. King of skill. I'm going to hold the card up because it's not clear enough. The King of Skill has come through many, many battles. His shield is hung on the wall behind him. He doesn't really need it anymore. You see that? And he's in his workshop. He's in this beautiful, peaceful place. Look at the golden light outside the window. You see? Look. This is where you're going. This is the journey you're on toward becoming the King of Skill in your own life, informed by your own energy, in your own spiritual destination. So he comes through these battles and he uses his knowledge. He has to be skilled at performing the type of judgment that needs to come in order to prevail without it getting into a big giant tussle, and being able to stand in your energy and just say, okay, that's enough of that. Come. Because otherwise, you're giving your power away to that. Oh, see, everything's backwards for me. You give your power to this when you engage with it, rather than just standing up and saying, I'm not going to do this with you. It's time to stop. Here's what's been going on. I know, I see it, and I'm done with it. That's not going to happen, right? So it's that kind of a message. And you see, it brings fracture. You see the fractures in the sky? They look like snakes a little bit. But he's just standing there going, oh, okay. You've been seen. And what happened was, the reason it looks like a beast, the people who were doing the things that were nefarious were turned into a beast and vanquished into the forest. They had to live the rest of their lives with their cruel intentions on the outside so they could be clearly seen. So there's some message in all of that for you. And the fact that, let me see if I can hold it up like this. Well, you know what? Let me just toggle back. The progression of this reading, even just so far, very profound and rapid progression. That's the other thing. And maybe because we're towards the end of the year, and when the solstice comes, that's another moment like the Lionsgate portal. That's what Spirit's been telling me, right? We've been prepared because it's time now for us in a living state to understand the concept of passage and use the cycles of the moon and use the cycles of the eclipses and all these things that happen for our purpose as we develop our spiritual intentions and into what our destiny is. All right, so hang on a second. I'm going to scroll down and load up the picture that's about the bridge card. So again, if you're new to the readings, the bridge is that energy that connects us to the spirit realm and has some ability through its energy to be, the word that's coming through is emanating, connecting our human walk. What Spirit's telling me, it's that I'm getting a little download. It's about having the spirit journey become visible to us as we walk our human life. That's what this card is about. Okay, according to Spirit in this moment. There it is. Check it out. The other thing that's interesting to me is that the runes that are visible in the photograph, and we're going to have to get together on that another day. It's really interesting because one of them is about constraint, and that card is the challenger of will. So I'm going to toggle back to my face and talk to you about this card. I want you to see it real clearly. Look at that. Okay, talk about being in the passage tomb with the ancients and the energies. Look. Holy smokes. Okay, so this is about, that's one of the ancient gods. And, holding a torque in one hand and a snake in the other, a snake that sheds its skin and renews itself and goes through a rebirth every year. One in each hand, the human realm, through this mystical passage. And there's the mind. The spirit realm, here on the earth, and all the souls, all the people that are going through these kinds of things being gathered up. So this is a major arcana card. It is the challenger of will. And in the traditional tarot, this would be seen as the devil card. That which challenges us, that which causes us to lose our way, that which binds us and keeps us from our destiny. Right? Look at that. And this card, let me toggle back, see, because I want to talk with you about it. Look at that. Hang on a sec. All right. See that? There's you in the center. Look at the process that you're in. It's astounding, isn't it? So the challenger of will in Soul Tarot, that's why it doesn't look like the devil, and we don't talk about that stuff because it's not based in those notions. The meaning of it in Soul Tarot is to challenge your will. Just like my will was challenged when I had put the key in the door. I had to decide, am I going to go forward? Am I going to be willing? What is it that is my purpose? And all those discussions came to the surface. I had to really face myself. This card is here to let you know that your bridge to your spirit journey is to release your fears. That's what the challenger of will, that's the power of that energy. And just below it, we see that you are on a quest of skill to regestate and gather up your power and become the king of skill in your life. And through that process, you will be able to release your fears and you will be liberated, just as this card prophecies for you over the top of this reading. Isn't that fantastic? I mean, honestly, it's enough to make me burst into tears. The intensity and the beauty of this reading. They've all been this way, but holy Moses, that's incredible. All right, so take a moment and just ponder those cards, and I'm gonna load up the next image for you, okay? Now, because of time, I'm going to load the whole spirit line all at once, all right? And we'll talk about them one at a time. Look at that. So they're on just above the challenger of will. Do you see the transformation that's happening? You have the regestation, and the challenger of will is what causes you to face your fears through the regestation. That's part of the journey. And above that is the sacred goddess of the river Boyne. And she is a highly activated, spiritually alive human woman who actually existed. There's a lot of myth and fable about that woman. But let me toggle back because I want to show you the card. Because there's a message that Spirit wanted me to give you really loud and clear. And I've been talking. She was here in every reading that came out in this passage tome. This woman was here, and the shamaness was here. And all of these journeys are about facing our fears and facing our challenges in order to develop into this. And Taurus, given the way these cards are coming out, look at the line. I'm going to toggle back again because I'm hoping that it will impress upon you the intensity of this change that you're going through. This is what you're developing into. All of us. This ability to be standing in our spiritual vibration, our power. Look at that. Abundance in her hand, more abundance at her back. Her name, her original Irish Celtic name, meant cow wealth. Isn't that interesting? So you see the sun coming up in the background. And look at, the energy literally emanates from her, flows into her. Spirit keeps telling me from the sun, and emanates from her. And she literally turned into a river. She caused the river to come into existence. And so we stand in the world this way, taking energy in and sharing it, like the tree. at the passage tomb at Doubt, right? This Spirit's telling me this is the human form of that tree. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go and watch the Gemini reading. Somebody was talking about it on the chat. It's so intense and so beautiful, right? This is the kind of light being that we are meant to become, so that our energy can flow upon the earth and bring the growth and the change and the abundance that we're meant to have. That's amazing. Oh my gosh. All right, so here we go. A little bit, another challenge, right? So when you get to that place, Spirit wants you to remember. Look at all the lines, all the vertical lines that are developing. Each one of them requires a significant change and facing challenges, and the center line of this reading is all about that. And Taurus, you fabulous bulls, you stubborn, wonderful people. You know, as an earth sign, as a Virgo, I have my own handle on being stubborn, but you guys really, I have some Taurus friends, and you're phenomenal. I love you, and I know what it is to put your head down and charge forward with your horns, right? So, you know, that's, I'm laughing, but no disrespect. I get the experience because I'm an Aries rising, okay? So, you know, as an earth/fire sign, I look at these cards and I go, yeah, I know what that's all about. You know, Spirit's chiding me, saying, all right, come on, look at the stuff in your core. It's time to root that out. So, standing next to the river goddess is a revelation card. And in that line, if you look at the human line, there's the judgment of knowledge, the warrior of knowledge, and then the revelation of skill. So this change, this progression is helping you reveal to yourself and on a spiritual basis that which the ways you use your energy that cause you to be entrapped. That's why that shamaness is over the top. And so even on the spirit line, you know that saying, and it might be just a Western saying, as above, so below. So think about this from that aspect, right? You know, there's a spiritual journey happening, and we're reflecting it in our human walk. So these are the challenges of the people who have this set point. All right, Spirit's interrupting me. Here's what Spirit wants me to say. These are the challenges that your soul has taken up in order to have an experience so that more knowledge can be revealed in a spiritual way. And you came here, theoretically, if you believe that, right? You are reflecting that in your current journey. So on the spirit realm, these last two cards are all about the things that, the ways in which you create blockage for yourself and being stuck. So let me toggle back to the live stream. Okay, hang on a sec. I want to show you these two cards. All right, that is a beautiful, magical girl, maiden. She was betrothed to someone that she wanted nothing to do with, and she had her own lover, and she was trying to figure out how to solve that problem. And what she did, to make a long story short, was she found out through some deceit what the weaknesses of the person she was betrothed to were, and she caused that person's death, basically murdered them by default, okay? And of course, she was found out, and she had to face the music, so to speak. She was turned into an owl, and she had to live the rest of her days in the forest, pondering what she had done, unable to join the stream of life. There's the stream. And next to her is the goddess of creation. Basically, this card, there's a lot of information, so to speak, about being the extreme creativeness of this state of being. And you see the river running by her. She can't engage with it anymore. And there's all this sort of angst and anger and frustration, right? So anybody who has a fire sign set point knows intimately about that, right? And Taurus, certainly, so do you. It's fascinating to me that the way this message is coming out from Spirit, all right? And it's no disrespect. There's no blame. There's no shame. It's just about shift and change and growth, okay? So look at the next card. That's the elopement of art. So on this line, we have the woman of art and the revelation of skill, and then the elopement of art. And here's the card. Do you see the river running through? So this is a story about two people who kind of got enticed into this treasure quest, I'll call it. There's the river. They found the treasure. It happened to them kind of all in a moment, and they decided to go. They found out that there was theoretically this treasure. So they went down to the basement of the castle, etc., etc. They found it. They climbed up on the platform, getting ready to plunder the bowl so they could have all their wealth and riches and whatever. And guess what happened? They got stuck to it, and they could not take their hands off the bowl. And you see that woman, how she's watching the river of life pass by her, and really all she wants in that moment is to let go of this darn bowl. Okay, that's what Spirit's talking with you about. This is the process that you're engaged in. It's phenomenal. All right, so let's do the last card. Okay, lest you lose hope, because I know sometimes these messages are challenging. Look at that. Taurus, that is exceedingly beautiful. This is the second time this card came up in these Naul Passageway readings. Okay, hang on. I'm scrolling back. Okay. So, Spirit's asking me to pause for a minute to give you some moments to look at the progression of this journey and the intensity. When you're in a process of being released into yourself rather than from something, that is a particular type of intensity, because it is about regestation in order to become the king of skill in your own life, to master yourself. And the other thing I think I didn't say about the king of skill, what he's doing is making shoes, creating his ability to walk in his own shoes, in his own energy, to create his own pathway in his life, in the center place, in the way that it has meaning for him. Okay, so there's the outcome card. There's the woman of knowledge. So, what Spirit always talks to me about of this, it's about passage, coming across a long journey. She is of the mystical realm. She has crossed over, and yet she is here on the earth. It's not, Spirit tells me, it's not about a Caucasian lady with blonde hair. It's about the light that emanates from her. That's what the illustration is meant to depict. Do you see? It's interesting. Okay, so what she's doing is literally picking, she's a healer. So, like an herbalist. So she's, I'm trying to do things with two hands. Hang on. All right, so she's picking herbs and flowers for healing. And one of the things she's picking is elderflowers that were used over a long period of time in the ancient days because people knew that they were healing. So the other thing that I want to show you, you see the carving? You see those things? You see those circles on there? They're not exactly spirals. Take a really close look at that. The healing that is coming to her is growing up out of a gravestone. That's where she's sitting. That is literally a gravestone. And the energy of healing depicted by the flowers and the herbs is literally growing from the bones of the person who was buried there. Okay, look at this. I'm going to change the picture. And again, she's dealing with the knowledge that has developed, that causes her to be able to perform healing out of that which fell away. Look at that stone. Do you see it's the same image? Isn't that amazing? I'm going to talk about mystical. I fell so much more deeply in love with these cards on this journey because I understand them now, because I've been in these places out of which the notions for this deck arose into the heart and mind of the fabulous Caitlin Matthews that made this deck. That's the outcome card, Taurus. So this message for you from this passage tomb is about release and healing, okay? And these two fabulous women sit together right next to each other. That is the intention of this reading, okay? Here's the, everything's backwards for me. All right, so here's the starting point. That's the outcome. Their energy is joined to help you on this journey in a way that is profoundly beautiful to me. How about that? Okay, Spirit wants me to, okay, I'm literally getting a directive to show you that stone. Spirit wants you to gaze into that image for just a few moments. And while you're doing that, I'm going to toggle back to the stream so I can see your chat, okay? In case you have any questions, anything like that, please ask. And if you've been persevering along all this time, thank you for being so patient. Yeah, Sarah, I'm reading your message about the emotion, and you can probably hear it in my voice. I get very choked up. What happens for me is it's the energy comes, and kind of like the picture of the woman of art at the river Boyne. My experience is these things just stream into me. They're not exactly thoughts. I don't, people say to me, how do you know? And I always say, I don't know. I just get the message. So I'm not an expert at anything. I'm just a person who happens to have this set point, right? I'm just like you guys. I'm going through my own struggles and my own transformation as I try to meet my life, as I have regestated completely, and I'm trying to finish that process. And here I'm on YouTube. I just want to hide in the woods and be a little Virgo and be quiet and have perfection, right? Which doesn't exist. So that's my trial and tribulation. But when I see this kind of movement, it's so inspirational to me. So I want to thank you for the work that you are literally doing, whether you recognize it or not. This is the journey you are on. And if you are here looking at this channel, clearly you've made a commitment to yourself. And that's the most important thing, is to just be willing to undergo the trials and the tribulations and the tests so that you can stretch and grow into that which you already are. And the message that has come to you from this tomb is so beautiful and so profound. I am just filled with gratitude. Yeah, Sarah, I'm as within, so without. Absolutely amazing, isn't it? All right, give me a moment. Hi, Louise. Okay, Natalie, I'm reading your message. Yeah, if you want to listen to Moon and Ascendant, absolutely. Anything, basically, here's my set point. If you feel attracted, if the question's coming in your mind, then the answer is probably, yeah, do that. That's kind of how it works for me. Sometimes I get what I call an inkling, and then it just like a little stream of sunshine, it causes me to follow along. That's a little bit of divine inspiration that you hold inside of yourself, responding to something that you know, knowledge with the capital K. So always honor yourself. Hi, Abina. Oh, thank you. I'm so glad. I want to share something with you. Spirit's asking me to say this. You may have heard me say it on some of the monthly readings. And I'm gonna chat about it because of the type of journey that you're engaged in and the deep humanity of that. Let's see, give me a moment. I'm going to try to put it into words. You know, when I started on this journey, I didn't know where I was going, and I just kept following the pathway of the energy. And it took a lot of trust, and there was a lot of development that had to happen, and a lot of self-doubt, a lot of fear, a lot of resistance. And, you know, with my Aries part of my set point, you know, I just love to fight. I just went through a time in my life where I was just all about the argument, right? I think partly because my primary sun sign is is the Virgo, right? So I'm mutable, and I had to find a way to muster my internal strength and balance it so that one did not overtake the other. And I have a sense of that with this reading, and I just want to encourage you. You know, it took me many years. I'm going to toggle back so that while I'm chatting, you can see me. Okay. All right. So it took me many years. My development continues still, as it does for everyone. And I think I was aware of my clairvoyance before I had any concept of that. So as a very young child, things would come to me. And part of the experience that I have, part of what I believe now, is that we all have that capacity. And some people have it each in their own way. Do trust these things that occur in your life, even if it doesn't make sense. It's okay. You know, and your friends and family may not support this kind of a journey. That's part of what I went through. I was terrified to say one word to anybody, and it was leaking out of me. I couldn't, you know, when you have a passion, when you have something inside of you, people know. It comes out, right? So little things would happen when I was a kid. You know, the phone would ring and I'd say, "Hey, Mom, that's so-and-so." And she'd look at me and go, "What are you talking about?" Because it freaked her out completely. She didn't want anything to do with it, right? So I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have a guide. I had to develop on my own through my own journey. And oops, that's the message in part, is to trust your journey and honor yourself. And don't give yourself a lot of grief about your challenges, but do face them and do seek to transform as a result. You know, we all have to look in the mirror, don't we? And face the things that that we hold inside of us that are capturing our ability. See, everything's backwards, so my fingers are moving in the direction they think they need to go, and it's wrong. So, you know, we're all moving towards this point in some way. And so this battle in this lifetime, particularly in this year, has run away with you. And these messages are coming through the cards. And the fact that it came this way from the passage tomb, literally, I'm struggling with my emotion, because what happens for me is not only does the information come, but it comes into me in such a way that it travels, you know, my brain can interpret the message. And then it's also traveling, maybe perhaps first, into my heart chakra. And the energy, the movement of that energy, causes me to have a human reaction at my heart chakra, right? This the seat of my emotions. And then I get choked up, and then I start crying, and then I can't talk. So it's one of my challenges, right? But look at that. Oh my God. All right, Spirit wants me to toggle back and forth another time for you. And then, my gosh, we've been at it for an hour and a half. I'm gonna shut up now. I have dinner guests coming, so I gotta go clean the house. All right, one more time. Okay. So gang, I'm gonna toggle back to that other picture. I'm gonna leave you with that. I'm gonna send you my hugs and my love and my deep and profound thanks for your commitment to be on your personal journey that brings you through all this shift and change and release, so that you can come to the place that was meant for you, for this healing on a soul level, so that you can experience your own passage when the solstice comes. Pardon, my voice is getting a little hoarse. I think I forgot to talk about this. So, the point of all of this, all these changes that we've been through this year, it is about going through the passage. When the energy opens on the 21st of December, prepare yourself for that solstice. If you have the ability, make a ceremony for yourself, even if it's quiet and in the bedroom or the bathroom or wherever you can do it in your house. Make note of the moment for yourself on a spiritual basis. And I think that's why these messages came out and why I was led to go to the passage tombs. My intention was to go to all the sort of sacred goddess places. I didn't intend to go to the passage tombs. And that's where I spent all my time. Not kidding, all my time in all of these tombs. Because there was something that was meant to come through, a message for you. So I think that's sort of the end cap, the curbstone, if you will, on this notion that we've been pondering all year together of shift and change and regrowth and rebirth and regestation. Because there is a passage opening in this solstice, in this particular year, that is going to complement the portals that opened through the eclipses. And we have the spiritual ability to go through that passage and cross over, even if just for a moment, in order to prepare ourselves for 2018. Because my deep belief is that something more is going to happen. And so we've been gifted with the assistance and the love to be prepared for that. So thank you so much, everyone, for all of your love and all of your support and your willingness to be here with me while I'm in development. You know, as I sort of laughingly say, making a fool of myself on YouTube, bumbling along and trying to figure out how to do all this when I have no idea what I'm doing, in a sense. So, Louise, hi. Hi, Victoria. Hi, Marcia. Sarah, I just want to acknowledge everyone who's here. Thank you so much. I love you all. I wish I could reach out and give you a real hug, but I'm sending it to you on the energetic highway. And I'm going to sign off for today. So thanks so much. I'll talk to you as soon as humanly possible. And I will put the readings for Libra and Virgo back up, probably not till next week. I've already committed to the schedule for these readings, and they have to work this weekend, so I'm going to be jam-packed between that and the private readings, okay? But thanks again, everyone. My voice is wearing out right at the right time, so I am going to sign off. Sending you my love.